My name's Richard Palmer. I'm Territory Manager for Central and Eastern Europe. I'm based in UK at the moment. Great pleasure to be here. Wanted to talk about not just certificate lifecycle management. We will come to that in a minute. So I'm sure most of you have seen these types of slides before. You understand the complexity of the ecosystem nowadays in managing certificates. They're growing and growing more and more with IoT. And interesting enough, last week I was at the European Union Supercomputer Centre, where they're doing a lot of the European Union research on quantum computer. That's another story. We can talk about it later if anyone's interested, about post-quantum era. And they're using a huge number of AI devices now to decipher what the quantum, and they're assigning each one a certificate and making them an employee. And they were seeing the certificates being added to the control so you can better manage the AI like an employee as another. So there's another area. So I know there's a lot of AI being discussed. They're seeing the European Union, like I said, the Supercomputer Centre are assigning each one a certificate. So it's just going to become more and more. I'm not going to go through all these slides. We don't have time, and I'm sure you've seen them, but I wanted to add them so that later on you can have a little read and look yourself. This is the other big thing, as opposed not just the growth of certificates, but certificate life cycle. We all know this is coming. We all need to be ready. And I hope no one is planning to run this off a spreadsheet. Only last year, end of last year, Entrust, we used to sell certificates. I had a phone call from the biggest bank in Poland on a Friday afternoon. The certificates that underpin all online banking expire tonight. Can you help us? Sorry, it's too late. So the biggest bank in Poland for one weekend could not offer any online banking. Of course, Monday morning, the first thing the CEO did was, who do I fire? Secondly, how do we cure it? For $400 worth of certificates. Should never, ever get to that. But the problem is, because it was being run off a spreadsheet, the person who was responsible was on holiday. It happened. They discovered too late. So we need a management tool. Again, this is all this, and I wanted to skip through this because, as I said, you understand all that, the machine identity and everything. So certificate management. There's the going out, discovering, understanding what you have. All certificate lifecycle management products have this. It's nothing unique. Let's be honest. You've seen this before on the other ones. Of course, Entrust supports that. Controlling the certificates. Yes, we do that. Again, and you may think, why has Richard stood up here? He's talking about what everyone else does. Why am I talking? I'm saying there's no real difference. What's the difference between this and any other platform? Automate it. You want to be able to have a system in there. How do you control the certificates? You've gone out, you found out what you've got. Everyone supports all the, the DigiCerts, the GoDaddies of the world. You need to list all those. You need to know when they expire. And then you want some automation. What do you want? Do you want an email sent to a group of people, to one person? Or do you want it to automatically and go out and reorder the certificates for you? We give you those options. You may suddenly decide that you no longer want to work with DigiCert, so you're going to do a 12-month, well, it's just over 12 months, isn't it? It's like 13 months and a day now, but getting shorter. You may decide over the next period, as a certificate expires, we replace DigiCert with someone else. So just those certificates are no longer automatically renewed and you get an email so you know you have time. Again, I don't think this is actually unique. And issuing reports, of course. We all have that problem. Management come in and say, I need to know. I want a nice report, a nice spreadsheet. I want some pie charts. I want to see where our certificate management is. So that's just a quick overview with some slides all about doing the discovery, doing the find, controlling the certificates, who we work with, certificate management. There we go. Sorry, I'm just flicking through. Sorry. As I said, so the title of mine, beyond just a CLM. So can I ask, if you don't mind, I'm going to pick on you. You were looking at me just now. So if I gave you a list of all your certificates in your organization, could you tell me what they're for? Probably not. You can have a list of all your certificates. What are they for? What are they connected to? Are they connected to my data? Are they connected to some other secrets management? Would that not be something a little bit more useful? To actually know what that certificate is connected to. And then we take it on a little bit more beyond. What is that certificate? Where is that certificate stored? Where is it physically? Because it's got to be on some machine somewhere. You want to know where it is. How is it secured? Is it encrypted? If it is encrypted, what key are you using? Not the exact key number, but, you know, are you using RSA? Are you using elliptic curve to encrypt that key? Where is that key stored? Am I keeping it in software or am I keeping it in a HSM? I would recommend keeping it in HSM because you don't want it stolen. But do all your great big lists say it's 100, maybe 100 certificates, maybe it's 1,000 certificates. How many of those are stored? I'm sure you're all aware of the NIS2 directive. NIS2 requires you to have classification of what you would see, your decision, high, medium and low data, risk data. So you've done that, you've already made that assessment. If you now look a little bit, I mentioned PQ, I was at the PQ labs. The European Union is now asking you, as members of the European Union, all of you, to come up with a plan on how you're going to secure your high and medium data in a post-quantum era. But if you don't know what you're doing with it today, how can you have a plan what you're going to do in the post-quantum era? Because are those certificates already encrypted? Unfortunately, I think all of us, including my company, find that not everything is there, not everything is as secure as you want to be. So there's a big discovering route. So just having a basic CLM platform, it's essential. You must have that, of course, to be able to manage your certificates moving towards a 47-day life cycle. But we would recommend, and certainly if you're looking at a PQ era, that you need to be thinking a little bit more ahead. What do you need? So if you're putting a procurement now for a CLM platform, maybe you purchase it next year, in 2 years' time, you're going to be back where you are now, looking for a CLM platform that can do more than just tell you what list, great big spreadsheet of what certificates you have and when they expire and who issued the certificates. So you can relate every certificate and see it all the way through. But then you can add all your secrets. So Entrust has a platform there. It is modular. So what you can do is start with just buying part of the CLM platform and just enabling the discovery. Maybe that's all you need today. So you just go out and do your discovery and you get a nice report that tells you what certificates you have, who the certificate authority is, who issued your certificates and when they expire. And then you can add in the next bit later on. So this is a screenshot and we've putting more and more in here all the time. Lots of information. So first of all, we're also thinking about policy management, thinking ahead. So we'll run through those in a little bit more there. Risk management, the risk management. So this is not just your certificates. This is all the secrets. This is your data. You may have PSK11 connections to your lab where you're keeping, if you're a software company, you've got your IP, all your data on your product. That's your crown jewels, because if someone else steals that, so that's got to be really, really top. So calculating its compliance level, again, we'll cover those in a minute. So geographically spread, obviously a nice little picture in case you're geographically spread, but you can narrow that down. It may be because you're not just in Budapest, even if you're just a Hungarian company, but you may have other European offices, so you can see where they are. You can see how many objects you've got, number of vaults. So as I said, we'll run through these a little bit more detail as we go through. Sorry if I'm rushing it a little bit, but we are a bit behind time, and I'll be more than happy at the Entrust stand, which is over there, to talk more about it if you're interested. So here you can see, because we're also looking, some of you may not, you may be thinking, have cloud, you want to understand what's in the cloud, what are you storing in the cloud, are you trusting AWS, Azure, the Americans, Google, with your crown jewels? That's up to you, but you need to have visibility of it. You need to see where it all is. So we're thinking of protecting the whole lifecycle management of all your secrets, centralized. So you can see, zoom in and see. And then we have this compliance. So in compliance, what we do is we provide compliance policies that you can add to the platform. For example, a simple one, are all my certificates in date? And then you'll obviously get hopefully you'll get 100% on there. So when you, as a cybersecurity professional or the CISO comes in the morning, you grab your coffee, you could quickly look at this and say, right, well, maybe on a Friday is better. I'm 100% compliant because my compliance policy will tell me that they have to be in date within 5 days of expire. So you can see that straight away. But you add more and more policies. And some of these policies we make for you, we can give you as an optional, and some of them can be adapted. The idea being, as you grow the control of your network, you can get more and more policies in there so you can automize the auditing of what's going on in your network, which we think will be, and then a display of properties of all the keys and the secrets in there, and the documentation. Again, documentation, as you all know, is very important. So risk management. So again, we set up the secrets, we set up the risks, you define the risks, the system checks your network for the risks that you've assigned, so you can understand where you are on that journey to trying to get to as minimal risk as possible. Of course, none of us, we all know that we're never going to be at zero risk. There's always going to be some risk, but you can try and keep it in the green. So you've got low risk on your network against all the risk policies that you've applied to the network. And again, as I said, this is not just your keys, this is your cryptographic estate as well. This is the storage, where everything is. Or on the documentation, compliance enforcement. Again, you set all this up. We mentioned AI earlier. I will mention on this because automation. So what you do is you have all these nice little boxes, you tick the boxes you put on there. We are at the moment testing. It's working. So it's going to be very similar to Copilot. So you're going to have a little tool place in here, just the same. So it'll be a very similar page to Copilot. So when you're doing your enforcement, and then you can write, just as you do today, I'm sure most of you are using something similar to Copilot. You type in there how you want to phrase your question. That way we can get rid of all these little tick boxes, which may or may not suit your particular question. And then it will learn, very similar to Copilot, how you want to see what's happening in your network. we think that will be a very useful tool for you. And then you can start automizing it. So you put the two together. So, Copilot can go off every, Friday afternoon, 2:00 before you go, and do a risk analysis that at the weekend you can feel comfortable with your family that the phone call isn't going to go off because something that is predictable might fail or go wrong or expire in your network over the weekend. That's the plan. We are working on it. We have a big team in Barcelona working on that. Mention the geographical spread. Again, for some companies, this may not be interesting, but it is an option. It comes in with the platform. Out-of-the-box compliant policies, as I said, so these are the policies that we will provide you, but we also train you and we give you the ability to write your own. There we go. That's the one I mentioned, probably the first one. Verify days until expiry. Yeah, but you add more. Verify OSCP existence, wildcard SANs. So we will provide these for you. They're optional, but we can also give you the tools to modify those or to write your own. And again, this is, as I said, we've already briefly covered this because I am flying through it. It's just so that you can see at one screenshot, as I said, you come in on every day in the morning as you're drinking your coffee, and you have a little look at the state of the secrets in your network and how comfortable do you feel about that with risk scoring. So you set up the risk scoring, so you don't even have to go through because you've already evaluated it. You've done a little bit of time and studying, and you can just see by the color. If it's in green, you feel comfortable, obviously. If it's in red, you think, I've got a busy day ahead, based on your policies. So thank you very much. Sorry, it's a bit of a rush, but I knew we're slow on time. We can provide this software through Clicko, free of charge for you to evaluate it, test it, plug it into your network. Clicko obviously know how it all works. They're all trained on it. And again, as I said, that was the title of my presentation, is I don't think there's anyone in this room would disagree we need a CLM platform today. You do need it, certainly moving towards 47 days. But think a little bit more in the future. What is coming? Post-quantum world is coming, whether we like it or not. Timelines, debatable. Google say 4 years' time, I think it was. Google was saying not long ago, 2 weeks ago. It may take longer, but it's coming, and we need to be ready. But this should make your CISOs and IT managers have a more peaceful rest in the evenings and at weekends that they can actually see. And also, when the general director wants to know what's happening in the network, what's happening with all my secrets, you can just pull it up. It'll automatically generate you a nice little presentation with some nice pie charts and things, which are all very good for going to the management, but actually give you a real-time snapshot of where all your secrets are and where you are. So thank you very much for your time.